Ladies and gentlemen, now I'm really excited but also a little bit nervous for today's video because I've been working really hard on kind of pulling all this information together behind the scenes, and this is also my first time doing a video like this for 7 Deadly Sins, but this is something I thought would be really useful to a lot of newer, a lot of progressing players in the game. There are so many people picking up 7 Deadly Sins at the moment, and I wanted to do a tier list which goes into a bit more detail for each and every character about their uses within the game. So if we look at characters, I wanted to talk about, you know, their kind of viability when it comes to story, PvP content, the Grey Demon, the Red Demon, Knighthood boss, auto farming, also kind of rate their unique ability as well, just to highlight some really good unique abilities that players might not initially notice there, and also have a coin shop tab to show you whether or not that character is available in a certain coin shop. Not at all, they're coming soon. So just a spreadsheet and a tier list that goes into a lot of detail about characters. Now, a bit about me, like, I'm a very hardcore global player at the moment, man. I've been grinding this game and loving it for the last month and a bit, but I haven't played the JP version, so I don't have a really kind of in-depth knowledge when it comes to kind of the broader spectrum of characters. I'm very familiar with a lot of the characters that are top meta at the moment. I've done like 600 plus matches in PvP. I'm like 4K champion in both like geared, ungeared PvP. So I like to think that I have a fairly solid understanding of the PvP meta. But one thing I do want to throw out there is this is my first draft of an absolutely massive project to rank every single character in the game. So it's a really big task. So any champion you think is overrated, underrated, let me know in the comments section below. Provide a little bit of context as well. I need to understand like what's so good about that character that they should be promoted in a certain aspect for, you know, a certain mode of gameplay like PvP or one of the demon fights or story. So yeah, if you could share your insight and experience, if you are like a JP player or a very hardcore global player in the comments section below, as constructively as possible, that'd be really appreciated. Again, my goal is to learn as much as I can so that I can funnel that information to my viewers, subscribers, and just the community at large. So learning is entirely the goal of this, but we have to start somewhere today, lads. So this is what I've come up with so far, and I'm pretty happy with, you know, a lot of the top champion rankings, especially ones that I'm very familiar with, and again, this is in kind of like a rough priority order, but I think there are so many crazy valuable characters that you have to, you know, kind of look at the mode of gameplay or exactly what you're after, and then figure out, you know, which characters you want to build based off that. And there are certain preferences when it comes to play styles and stuff, but there are lots of different options for lots of different stuff, and that's why I really like 7 Deadly Sins. We are seeing a little bit of an interesting global meta at the moment because of the very aggressive new release schedule. Stuff is changing up very quickly, so yeah, especially the PvP tab is going to change very fast, but also it's a different release schedule to JP, so characters have kind of come in like different orders, so it's a little bit impossible to tell who's going to become like irrelevant when. Like Galland is a champion that apparently becomes a lot less relevant when Escanor is released. However, at the moment Galland is ridiculously good. He's so insane, but as soon as Escanor comes, he's going to get knocked down a few pegs there. But he's also very good for the Red Demon. I've been using him to farm Red Demon and having a really fun time doing that. But anyway, let's talk about the characters overall and some of the most solid investments at the moment. So the two big boys in this game that have a lot of long-term value are Blue King and Red Gotha. King, he just really has it all, man. He's got a hard-hitting ultimate, hits absolutely everyone. He's got a Purify and Heal as one of his skills, and his other skill is a Petrify, which can be a 2-turn Petrify when upgraded to Gold. So he's amazing for story, PvP. He doesn't really shine as much in the demon fights, especially when you're progressing. He can be good early on for some of the the Red Demon stuff, but later on, like, the freeze characters are much better to have. Knighthood boss, he can be alright, but there are better characters if you can get some really good RNG, but if you need a healer for the hard one, not too bad there. Auto farming, he's alright for auto farming because of his really powerful ultimate attack, but there are slightly better characters for more efficient auto farming there. Gotha is just ridiculous for everything, man. Like, story, PvP, Grey Demon, Red Demon, Knighthood boss, auto farming. His unique is really good as well because it increases everybody's attack by 10% for each turn that he doesn't take damage. So if people choose to ignore him in PvP, or if you find the Red Demon, he's just constantly buffing everybody's damage as well, upgrading skills, disabling attack skills, draining ult. Like, Red Gotha is just crazy, man. Maybe he should be like right at the top of this tier list, but again, it's a very rough ranking, and apparently he is going to be in the Plat coin shop in the future. Green Meliodas is the king of story, really. His full counter is so overpowered for many of the story bosses in the game, and even if you can't like get a Green Meliodas, like, you do have the option in the majority of scenarios just to add somebody else's to your team. So yeah, just do that and you can roll like all of the difficult bosses in this game. He's just way too good. He still works pretty well for PvP. I wouldn't say like he's a top meta option at the moment, but he can work, you know, for some people. He's quite easy to play around, especially with Arthur teams and like Jericho teams. So yeah, he's really not that much of a threat, but his enchant Hellblaze can still hit really hard. So he's okay for PvP, man. He's also alright for the Grey Demon, especially if you time it right, but I would say that Green King and Jericho are much better overall. Not really too spicy for the Red Demon. Knighthood boss, not really that great. Auto farming, he's okay for auto farming. I used him for auto farming for a while, and yeah, he's alright there, mate. Nothing too special though. Green King, this unit is mainly used for the Grey Demon. He is like beyond insanely overpowered for the Grey Demon. He is so good. There is a ridiculous amount of damage output via his unique ability. You've got like guaranteed crits as well at 5 ult gauge. So you get to 5 ult gauge, like I can literally, like, most of the time if I draw 3 king cards on turn 1 when it comes to the Grey Demon hard, because I like to quickly farm that sometimes just for like ease. Like, you can just like kill him turn 2, man, with the ultimate, and it deals like close to about 180,000 damage at my gear level. It's just so silly, mate. So yeah, Green King is amazing for the Grey Demon. Also just an MVP unit for Extreme as well. So he appears in the Plat coin shop. He's on rotation, but if he does pop up, man, he's a really insane unit to get, and I think when Hell comes out, he's going to be even more valuable for that. So yeah, he's just awesome. Red Arthur is a unit that's really good all around because he can, you know, buff everybody with additional attack, additional health, additional defense, and also has an incredibly hard-hitting ultimate. So he's just like a top meta option at the moment for PvP. You can also get this man in the gold coin shop. So if you don't already have him, I would say he's like a must-buy for a lot of players at the moment. Really good character to max out, and also he has his unique, which increases the stats of all human allies, so he synergizes very well with like half the characters in this game at the top tier. So yeah, he works really nicely, especially like Green Barn, Hauser, and yeah, many of the other humans out there, but Arthur is a beast. He's so good. That ultimate just ruins people. Jericho is a force of nature. She does so much damage at the moment, it's ridiculous. She's very good for PvP at the moment, but apparently due to her flimsiness, she is going to be a unit that does fall off in the future. But right now, if you get lucky with Jericho, she's a huge threat, especially if your opponent decides to ignore her and target somebody else. Then yeah, she can just like wreak havoc in PvP. The ult is like almost a guaranteed one shot on nearly every single unit, especially if it does crit, which there is a very high chance to. She's also ridiculously good for the Grey Demon. Now, Green Jericho is a bit weird for the Grey Demon because she can't attack him while he's flying, but you just want to like use that time to spam her moves and build up the ult gauge and crit chance, and then just fire off your ultimate, and the damage is just insane. Her ultimate hits so hard, and it's very satisfying to see. So yeah, she's working really well, even for like the extreme grey demon at the moment. So great unit there. Also probably the top option at the moment for getting like a massive score on the knighthood boss. She's that massive ultimate, and it's all about dealing the biggest hit you can against that boss. So Green Jericho actually has a lot of longevity there, I think, until Red Derriere, I think, is when she becomes slightly more redundant. And also, she's not bad for auto farming as well. There are better champions out there, but hey, she's just going to smack about, deal some damage, pair up with Green Barn. She's going to be taking people down, so not too bad there. Green Barn is still really good for a lot of the story stuff, PvP as well, just an absolute monster, really good for auto farming. Synergize as well, just because that extort is, you know, it's more damage and also more survivability on your team. So I use Green Barn to like auto farm, along with Hauser and Blue Diane, like all of the boss battle extreme stages with my gear level. So yeah, just like an absolutely insane lineup there. But yeah, he's still just insane for a lot of PvP. Kind of Gallon does counter him a little bit, and there are some champions that do slow him down, but if you get some good RNG, you can still do some crazy stuff for Green Barn in PvP, so he's a very fun unit. And then we've got Green Merlin, who is insane for PvP. The control is really good. A lot of people at the moment are running like Red Gotha, Blue King, and Green Merlin teams, going like full control, and it's a really hard time beating those for a lot of teams and setups out there, because there's so much control in that team. It's mad. You just deny your opponent getting ultimates for Green Merlin while you build up to your ultimate on Gotha, and then fire it off on Gotha, and that drains everybody's ultimate, and then you've pretty much like won the match from there on out. So yeah, and Green Merlin's passive allows everybody to start with one additional ult gauge, which is so OP. I use this as well on the demons sometimes, just to kind of like rush ultimates if I want to get them down very fast. So yeah, she's just a beast everywhere, man. Green Merlin is like way too good. Then next up, we got Blue Diane. Blue Diane's AoE burst is just mad, mate. It demolishes so much stuff in story, but also in PvP. If you can get to that ultimate and fire it off, like, your opposing team's just dead. It's really fun and geared PvP. She's not too bad for both of the demons. There are definitely better units out there, but she still deals some pretty good damage there. Knighthood boss, again, not too great, but not the worst for some of the stuff early on, but later you'll probably want to ditch her for, I would say, better characters, so maybe she's a 3 there. But her unique increases damage every single turn, so that is very spicy. And again, we got the new character Galland. I love Galland for PvP. He's just crazy good. I've had such success running all sorts of Gallant teams in the last week and a bit. We even got like top 5 global for 1 point midweek last week with a Gallant team, and he's really fun for the Red Demon as well. Like, there's so much burst damage, and if you combo like his ultimate or an upgraded like gold single target card with a freeze, you can just one shot even like some blubbery phases in extreme mode. So it's very fun. Then we got Blue Liz Hawke, who is really good for PvP, man. She's kind of a Gallant alternative. I've been running a Blue Liz Hawke theme today, and I've been on the most ridiculous win streak. It's actually filthy. I've beat like every single composition out there so far, even like the full control ones. Like, her damage is just ridiculous when paired with Arthur and Gotha, but she really does need kind of that full team like built around her to function, because she can't gain a lot of buffs on herself, so you kind of need to bring in Arthur so you can buff her up and get that massive damage there. But the problem is she can't gain like a lot of buffs in comparison to Gallon naturally on Red Demons. So I'd say she's still really good for it, but she isn't quite at the level of Gallant, at least in my experience so far. But hey, I may be incorrect on that, and I think if you have the right setup and team synergy, then potentially as well. But ideally, you know, you need to bring in those freeze characters as well, so it's a bit difficult kind of fitting everybody that you might need in the team for that. Whereas Gallant, he can just get the buffs like naturally off his ultimate there. Then we've got Hauser. Hauser is really good for auto farming, like the king of auto farming at the moment, just because every one of Hauser's abilities hits everything, deals like a really nice amount of damage, so that constant cleave is just getting people down 24/7. Also really good for the right setup in PvP, and if you're in elite PvP and have like full pierce gear, this guy hits like a friggin' truck, man. There's so much damage output. So I've seen like a lot of Red Hauser and Elite PvPs very threatening there. Maybe a bit less threatening in normal PvP, but yeah, still really, really good. Blue Slater is insane for the Red Demon. I've tried this guy in PvP. I just cannot make him work, at least for me at the moment, because he deals like massive damage with his unique whenever the opponent has 0 ult gauge. So in the right scenario, like Red Demon, where he's just being frozen all the time and he's not doing anything, then you've just got this crazy damage boost on Blue Slater. And you just like crit in like all of the time, and it's so much fun. But outside of that, I don't really find that he's been anything that special for me in like champion bracket PvP so far. I fully maxed him out. I really wanted him to be, but unfortunately I'm just not seeing it at the moment. But hey, maybe I'm missing some sort of like specific comp or setup that kind of elevates him to that crazy level. Then we got Red Merlin, who is amazing for the Red Demon, amazing for the Knighthood boss. It's really the freeze that makes Red Merlin so valuable, just because that freeze can shut down units in PvP and stop them from attacking, but also freeze when upgraded, it increases damage taken from the next attack. So the idea in the Knighthood boss and the Red Demon is you freeze, you fire off like a massive attack, and then it's like amplified by either 80 or 200% damage, and then you see a really big number and the boss dies. So that's the strategy when it comes to Red Merlin. Great strategy, man. Works out really, really well. But also there is a Red Merlin alternative, Gustav, in the SR section, who we're going to talk about soon. Then we got Green Elizabeth up next. She's really good for the Grey Demon, fantastic healer. Not a bad healer for PvP or story, and also not too bad for the Knighthood boss either. Then we got Helbram. Helbram, I think, is mainly used on the Grey Demon, because Helbram's attack buff stacks alongside, I think it's like Gotha or Gilthunder's attack buff, so it's like double attack buffs if you need like an extra big hit or even more damage. And also that's really good for the Knighthood boss if you want like a massive high score, which again isn't really like a massive priority for a lot of people at the moment, so you know, maybe a little bit more niche on that side there. And then we've got all the other bards. I don't think there's too much to say about these characters. They're all a little bit lacking in various ways. However, I did run into a couple of people using Red Barn teams in PvP, along with, what was it, Green, Elizabeth and Hawke, and they shredded me. It's literally been like 2 matchups, and I've barely seen this character at all, but I feel like he might be a little bit of a sleeper, man. I want to, you know, see him more, hopefully get my hands on him, because I don't have him as an SSR, but I have the Blue Barn as an SSR, and he's a little bit underwhelming, but who knows, I might take him up and try and make him work at some point, man. But there are a lot of Barns in this game, and aside from that, I don't think there's anybody else too worth mentioning. Apparently Blue Fighter Diane isn't too bad. I need to kind of build her and have a little bit more of a look. Apparently decent enough for some PvP scenarios. Again, with Red Gilthunder, some people around the lower mid tiers have had some success with Red Gilthunder setups. Personally, since the release of Gallant, and with Blue Liz Hawke, I wouldn't see much trouble with Red Gilthunder, and I fought like a couple of teams running him, and I just got him down so quickly, it was mad. So yeah, I haven't seen like too much success there, but I've heard about some people having success, but I really want to see some gameplay, man, so I'm curious for that. Also, I saw somebody running like a really weird Blue Gotha team, and they were actually doing quite well, so I need to look into that unit a little bit more, man. He seems like he might have a bit, but apparently, again, I don't really have too much experience with a lot of the characters down here, but apparently most of these characters are absolute trash, according to various JP players and people that have ranked them up. So that's all the SSR characters, and then we've got SR characters. So to quickly go over some of the pros, Gustav is essentially the same as Red Merlin. Very good for the Red Demon, very good for the Knighthood boss for the freeze and damage scaling there. Green Gilthunder, a very popular option for the Grey Demon, just because he's got a really easy, accessible buff. Might be a bit more replaced now that we have Gotha in the mix, but he's still just great for that attack buff, like whenever you need to amplify the damage of a certain character, like in the Knighthood boss as well. And also his unique increases, what is it, defense-related stats on all allies in PvP, so this is very commonly used in the sub slot in PvP to give even more survivability to the the first team. However, in my experience, I've found green Merlin on the sub to be a lot more successful overall than green Gil Thunder, just because rushing the ults really is the way to win PvP, at least in my opinion at the moment. And then we got red Liz Hawke. Red Liz Hawke is insane for the red demon. She is so good for that, just due to the fact if she doesn't take any damage, her attack like infinitely increases by 10% each turn. So especially when you're going against extreme and he's got like massive health, this damage is just ramping up and up and up. So yeah, it just makes her really good for that. The unique is absolutely banging there. And then we got green Liz Hawke. Green Liz Hawke, if you got a full Pierce set, is actually insane for PvP. I think most of the top PvP whales out there that have, you know, properly gone all in for like full Pierce sets in PvP, yeah, just shred with that team, man. And if you don't believe me, like, go to the PvP leaderboard, look at the top people and like fight them, and you'll be like, okay, this damage is just absolutely crazy. So yeah, she's a unit that's apparently a little bit slept on, but I've seen some great stuff from various YouTubers and content creators around her, but I need to play around with her a little bit more myself. Then we got this man, so he's really good for auto farming and also in certain teams of Hauser and green Liz Hawke, just because his unique ability increases Pierce on all allies, but I think it's like 15% there. So allies that have like Pierce damage and really scale up very well from that damage, he's a fantastic unit to have. So yeah, some people really like this character. I don't really have too much experience so far, so I can't say too much about him. But yeah, lots of AoE there, which is always very nice. And then we got Red Slater. Red Slater is a character I really want to max out just for a little bit of fun. Seems to be very hard-hitting, but also has the ability to disable all buff and debuff skills on the opponent, but also reduce their attacks, so force them to only use attack moves. So apparently he's a really good counter to like the Blue King and also Red Gotham meta, because if you can disable all of their abilities to you know, apply buffs and debuffs, then there's not really too much that they can do. So yeah, I think he's a really interesting one, but I need to, you know, again, level him up myself, have a bit of a play around, but I've watched a couple of videos and he certainly seems quite promising there. Red Barn is the free-to-play story units, one you get just passively. He's not too bad for story and not too bad for PvP. I used him for a while. The ultimate hits very hard. He's got some great survivability as well, the ability to drain ult gauge, but I think just better units have come in overall. But for some early tier PvP, he's not too bad to use for various bits and pieces. And then we got Red Elizabeth. Maybe her unique ability, looking at this, should be 4, because her unique ability just passively heals. So even if you have her on that sub spot, then you get like constant healing every single time the turn starts. So it's really nice. I know some people have been using her for PvP. So yeah, she's not too bad. Pretty good healer as well for all sorts of story stuff, especially one of the Hendrickson bosses. I used her as kind of a sub-in character that I lent from somebody else, and she was really fantastic for that. The green Hendrickson boss, I believe, so it was very awesome there. And then we got Kane. I haven't actually seen any Kane gameplay, but I've heard a lot of people say that this character isn't too bad. Seems to have some like decent damage, but also applies ignite as well, which increases damage taken, so can ramp up certain characters. I imagine would be okay for the knighthood boss, but again, I have very limited experience when it comes to Kane, and I've only seen like one very brief gameplay video. It's like almost no gameplay on YouTube for this guy, so yeah, I might have him a little bit wrong or undervalued there. And then we got Blue Meliodas. Blue Meliodas, he's alright for some of the earlier story, but he falls off just so quickly. This character is just, you know, inferior in pretty much every single way to green Meliodas. So yeah, that's pretty much it, man. And then we got just a load of characters that don't seem to be doing too much, at least to the best of my knowledge. But again, if you got any cool uses for these characters, please do let me know. I know, what is it, Gilla? If that's how I pronounce her name, apologies if it's a little bit incorrect there. She's got ignite as well, so I think she's okay for the knighthood boss. I think it was my boy FG3000 using a Gilla setup there. So yeah, I think that was working out all right for him. But again, I think there are like better options to use when it does come to that boss there. And then we have all of the rare characters, and some of them have some okay uniques. I think Golgius increases what is it, attack in death matches there, so he's not too bad to maybe have on the sub spot if you don't have anybody else. And then we've got all sorts of weird and wonderful stuff that increases like certain classes health by 30% there. I think you have that on Twigo. Simon gives additional attack in PvP, but a lot of these characters at their base, they're so bland and unexciting that they don't really do too much in comparison to top meta options. But I have seen some pretty sick Twigo PvP coming from like certain meme YouTubers, man. So there's some fun stuff out there, and maybe he doesn't look like the worst character to upgrade. So yeah, maybe I'm heavily undervaluing many of these characters, but again, I haven't seen like anything that I've been like, wow, this character's definitely like god tier. So yeah, again, it's one of those things where this is going to be a learning experience for myself when it comes to a lot of the characters that I'm not super familiar with. But I thought the best way to initially start on this is to put out all my thoughts, everything I've kind of know about the game, everything I've learned so far, and then the YouTube comment section to tell me how wrong I am, and hopefully explain constructively, you know, what I'm missing about certain characters. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully you did enjoy today's tier list video, and if you did, if you could do me a massive favor and smash that like button, that'd be greatly appreciated. But aside from that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching. Take care, and I hope that you have an absolutely fantastic day.